This is Jared Dees from thereligionteacher.com. Who was the prophet Elijah in the Old Testament? In the books of 1st and 2nd Kings, we read about some of these amazing stories, these amazing works of God through his prophet Elijah for the people of Israel. And there's lots of stories, of course, about Elijah, and maybe 3 of these stories stand out as the most significant. First, in general, the story of Elijah is about his opposition to King Ahab and his wife Jezebel. So there's the crown there. Jezebel turned King Ahab away from God to the worship of other gods, specifically of Baal. And what Elijah did was stand up for the Lord to King Ahab, who should have been turning his people towards service and worship of the one true God, Yahweh. So it's constantly Jezebel going after Elijah throughout the books, the 1st and 2nd Kings, and he's often going into hiding, and that's where many of the miracles are being worked through Elijah. In one particular case, Elijah opposes or goes up against Jezebel's false prophets. So these aren't true prophets. They claim to be prophets of Baal. So he challenges them to essentially like a duel of miraculous works. And what he does is challenges them to call down fire upon this mountain. They fail. And then Elijah builds a fire with 12 stones to be able to represent the 12 tribes of Israel. And God brings down this miraculous fire and shows, Jezebel and the people of Israel, who's really in charge here? God, right? So there's this fire here that was sent down by God for Elijah to prove of God's power versus the non-existent power of the other false prophets. And that, again, sends him out into hiding. And running away, he goes to Mount Horeb or Mount Sinai. And there he encounters God in a familiar story you may remember, not in an earthquake, not in the wind, not in the fire, but he encounters God in a whisper, in a small voice, depending on the translation of the Bible you're reading. Sends a powerful message to us too, right? Where can we encounter God? Not necessarily in these great works, but oftentimes in a small voice, in a whisper, in something we might least expect to encounter. That small voice. I'm going to draw the mountain here. He's up on the mountain, he's hiding, and there's a little whisper that has a powerful message for him. And finally, you have this kind of chariot of fire here. Elijah is carried up into heaven in this chariot of fire right after he appoints Elisha as his successor. So this is next the prophet who takes his place in serving God and defending the people of Israel against these people, these kings who are leading them away to other gods, Elisha. So that's the prophet Elijah. He has a significant role in the Old Testament. He's looked to as kind of a figure of prophecy in general, and one of the early prophets that many of them come after prophet Elijah really do fall into that same role of trying to get the people of Israel to turn back to worshiping that one God, the one true God, Yahweh. So that's the prophet Elijah, 1st and 2nd Kings. Go make disciples. God bless.